Oh,
I just
let's
want to
talk
say that
about
I'm
the
really
groundhog.
happy I have no idea how to catch a groundhog.
We had one at my grandpa's farm right after he passed away. So I called my stepdad, who's a farmer, and I was like, I don't know what we've got. We've got something digging a hole like in the stoop, and we don't want the steps to collapse while people are coming for this funeral. So he brought up a live trap and set it, and we didn't catch anything. We didn't catch anything. He was halfway back to Missouri when I said, we caught something. And he said, what is it? And I said, I have no idea. He said, is it a groundhog? I said, maybe like Puxatawny Phil. I mean, and he's like, yeah, like Puxatawny Phil. I was like, sure, I think it is. So that's the only reason I know.
Hi, folks.
Hi,
Hello.
Katie. We're talking about how to catch groundhogs.
I heard as I hopped on. I was like, what? What is happening? Jim, I got an email at 4 o'clock that you were hopped onto the meeting, and I was like, wait a minute, and I panicked for a moment, and then I had to get back to my other meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was one of those where you wait in holding until the meeting starts, but I thought if I don't hit this now, I'll forget.
Good call. Good call. Fair enough. Jim, you had also sent, I have been in meetings all day long, and so I have been playing catch up. You sent something that you said we needed to talk about tonight.
So, yes. Let's see. Actually, I think there's a couple of things that I'd come across my email. Um, so one of them, I'm assuming everybody saw the new video that's out by GCA. That mainstream UMC brought it to my attention and maybe to everybody else. But the one in particular, this one came through Faith and Order, and it was basically saying that let's see, where's it at? The Reconciling Ministries was not going to be moving to press an agenda for aggressive, inclusive language. And so they were encouraging the committees to look at any provisions that may be advancing that and consider stepping back and maybe even opposing those for now and trying to get to a neutrality point so as to not create a lot of anxiety and extra emotions at the conference. So I thought we should talk about that maybe a little bit.
Yeah, we can find some space at the end to have a little bit of that conversation. I think that'd be good. Bishop Kenneth is with us. She's going to share a little bit of an update. And then we also have, I don't see there's communications, who are also going to do some training. I wonder, as we work to get started, as everyone gets on, Bishop, would you like to go first for kind of the quick word that you'd like to share with, it may not be super quick, but for the word that you'd like to share with us.
Okay. Did you say that it does have to be super quick?
I did not. We do have about 30 minutes of communications training with our comms folks. So, and our meeting's only an hour. So,
okay, I am not going to spend very long because I mostly want to listen to what all of you have to say and are thinking. But first of all, thank you for your service on the delegation. And for some of you, it has been much longer than you ever imagined. I imagine it's a little bit like the Groundhog's Day of general conferences. It is finally here. I will be with you in Charlotte, North Carolina in what is it, just under maybe about 10, 12 days now. So we're getting very, very close. And I am wanting, this will be a change for me because I am used to being part of a delegation. And I'm used to being in all of the conversations and all the stuff going on behind the scenes. And now I feel like I don't even know what the good gossip is about anymore. But so it'll be different for me because I will be doing some things with the council, and I will be up on the die most of the time. I am may have an opportunity to preside. I certainly have, my name is certainly in the hopper for presiding. And I am looking forward to the worship and to the fellowship and to seeing people that I have not seen and for us gathering together as a connection. I'm very grateful for all of the work that you're putting into this. And I want to, of course, interact with you at General Conference. And I think there are ways to do that. And I think communications, and I'll be working with Katie as well on ways to interact with you. So as you all probably know, there's lots of legislation, and none of us really knows what's going to come or what's going to take priority. But I'm going to tell you a couple of things. First of all, the three pieces that are probably of most concern are the global social principles, or the four pieces: the global social principles, the removal of the harmful language, the proposals around regionalization, and then the budget. And you all know that. And I will work backwards from that. The budget is something that I was very, very involved with in my role as connectional table, head of connectional table. And we actually negotiated a budget that would have come to General Conference 2020 had we had a General Conference 2020. And that budget was very different in that it was based on a set of values. Some of those were missional values. Some of them had to do with equity. In terms of, and that spoke to the tendency of our church when cutting the budget to first want to cut G-Corps, COSRO, those kinds of, that kind of work that has to do with racial, ethnic, gender, and otherwise equity. And so we work very hard to try to protect those agencies. I know that what is coming are even deeper cuts. So I will pray for you. Those obviously have impact on the annual conference, has impact on the Episcopal Fund. Maybe in some perceptions has a positive impact on the annual conference, because to reduce that budget in that way would mean less going to the general church. Will have maybe some impact on the Episcopal Fund and some other areas of the church. So just to be aware of that. The other piece, of course, that I'm most familiar with is regionalization. And someone said my blurred background makes me look like I have a halo. It might be just the light. Let me see if I can remember. Because I
It's Alejandro's, not you.
Oh, it's Alejandro's. Okay, it's Alejandro's. I thought it was mine. Okay. Yes, it
No,
does
no,
look
you're
like
fine.
a
It's
halo.
just like a lovely halo. It's excellent.
It is hello, Saint Alejandro. So the other piece is regionalization, and my name actually might still be on some of that legislation that is in the previous ADCA. That legislation, and I think you're all savvy about this, there's the Christmas covenant that, and a lot of energy around that, and solidarity with people in the central conferences around that. A lot of organizing went into that. That legislation was, I was actually in the Philippines in 2020 when that, some of that was being put forth. It is now official legislation, and there's also the connectional table legislation. It is going to be helpful to look at them holistically and to have plans A and plans B. And I think you're all very aware that the connectional table legislation has two parts, have a couple of parts that are non-disciplinary and some parts that are don't involve constitutional amendments. And just think about those, because some of those pieces would allow the United States to begin to make some regional decisions, whether or not all the other constitutional amendments passed or not. That at least is my interpretation of that. And then I think that what is probably tops of everyone's mind, and I'm going to watch the time, Katie, I'm going to try to wrap this up, but tops of everyone's mind is the global social principles and the removal of harmful language. Those work together, and they also can work very well separately, because whatever happens with the removal of the language in other parts of the discipline, if the language is removed from our social principles, and the social principles have a kind of staying power that the rest of the discipline does not. And you all know this, I'm sure, but if we have regionalization and there is an ability to, for instance, develop a discipline that would be around the US context, the piece that would go across the whole global church would be those pieces around articles of religion, constitution, et cetera, but also social principles. So it's very important that we pass a global social principles and that and with regionalization, with that, we would gain the ability to be able to adapt. If I thought well ahead, I would have brought you my little Nordic Baltic, one of the European books of discipline, because some of the central conferences actually have a book of discipline that deals with the parts of the discipline that are adaptable. And in the US, that's what we would like. So my hope and my prayer is that we will remove the harmful language throughout the book of discipline. But I have to tell you that if there were going to be some priorities that I would put forth, it would be the social principles, and it would be those pieces around chargeable offenses. So that whatever anything else says, we don't have to be, people don't have to be under fear of charges. Okay. Now that said, I think that previous leadership, and certainly there was the leading now statement that came from the cabinet, don't ask me the date, but I certainly have come into this annual conference as a bishop who is supportive of the full inclusion of all people across every kind of possible division that you could imagine. My practice has been the same since my episcopacy, sometimes I can't say that word, began, and it will be the same no matter what the discipline does. Okay, that we intend on the cabinet, what I've said to members of the cabinet, and those who are members of the cabinet know I've said this to you, that if we are going to talk about anyone's sexuality, then we will begin to talk about everyone's sexuality. And evidently nobody wants that. So we are going to continue to make appointments based on the gifts and graces and the missional the gifts and graces of the clergy and the missional context of the church, no matter what, no matter what. We will find ways. I don't think that there's any appetite for any charges within this annual conference, but sometimes that stuff comes from the outside of our annual conference. I have no interest in bringing people up on charges because of who they are and who they love. And I will continue to be an advocate and a support. We have, I believe, right after General Conference, I've had a couple of instances of inviting our LGBTQ clergy who would like to come to the Episcopal residence for conversation. So we will have some more conversation after General Conference. I will be sending out pastoral letters. You'll see one that will come before General Conference, and you will see them coming after, basically saying the same thing. And, you know, and for those folks who are, for reasons of conscience, feel like they cannot perform same-sex weddings or things of that nature, we're going to continue to reiterate, no one will be forced to do that, etc. So this is about making space, making a place around the table for everyone. So that's what I want to say. And then let me give you one little last hint, and then I'm going to stop. I went to General Conference in 2012, already ready to fight the good fight for full inclusion. And I got there and I ended up on the subcommittee, leading the subcommittee on abortion. And then we had all of that Plan UMC stuff happen. And all of the progressives had to pivot to a whole different thing. So prepare yourself for the unexpected at General Conference. We go in thinking one thing is going to happen, and sometimes something completely different begins to take place. So I want you to know that you go with my prayers and with my deep, deep gratitude and appreciation for all the work that you do. So, Katie, I think that's all that I have to say. If you want me to, if there are any burning questions, otherwise I think I'll step off and let you all be about delegation business.
Anybody have any questions for Bishop Kenitha? we're excited to be with you and to get this done. I was just on a call and they asked how folks and I were feeling. I said, I think we just want to get there and get this done.
Get it done, get her done, get her done. Well, I'll be praying for you all. And I will say that some of the things that the council will be working on are some things that I need to talk with you about as well. And one of them, at least the council is always working on a lot of things, but one of them that I have been involved with a small task group has been around the rise of authoritarianism and the specter of political violence, particularly within this country, but around the globe. And so something is likely to come out of the council. We have some folks coming to talk with us about that and help to begin to resource us around that. So we'll be talking about that more as we go forward. So that's it. Other than that, bless you and keep you. And I am praying for you. This is a lot of work. And but trust that the Spirit is in the room. And in the midst of all the politics and all of the unhappy things that will be happening, trust that the Spirit is at work. And for those of you who are more experienced General Conference delegates, remember to, and I know you will, to support those who are newer delegates. Because I think that sometimes we are unprepared for the emotional and spiritual impact of this work when you get in the midst of it. All right?
Bishop, I think Barry has his hand up.
Okay. Barry.
Yeah, Bishop, I don't know if you've seen all the things in the chat, but I think many of us would like to just say personally to you, thank you for your leadership. And thank you for your spirit and how you are leading us to be an inclusive church. So just thank you for that, and keep at it.
Well, amen. I think you all knew what you were going to get. And if you didn't know from what I was saying, then shall I say, you may have figured it out from some of the things going around by other folks who were saying some other things. But I do want to assure you, by the way, I do believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. With that,
Amen.
We've got that
Amen.
on recording, Bishop. So
oh, sorry.
no, I'm saying
It's recorded now. It's
that's
official.
what I'm saying.
Okay,
yeah, you never
good.
know how Zoom quotes are going to get used.
You never know how Zoom quotes are going to get used, but I just want to put it out there. I do believe in the resurrection. Absolutely. Blessings, everyone. Be well.
Thanks, Bishop.
Bye-bye.
All right. I think we're gonna turn it over to Liz and Courtney now, who are gonna do some equipping with us for what do we do when we get invited to have conversations. I need to give you guys the ability to share your screen, I think, because you've got some slides. So Liz and Courtney, thanks for joining us. And you guys are going to be at General Conference the second week or the first week? I'm trying to remember.
I will come in on the 25th, which is Thursday. So I'll be there Thursday later, after I get settled. And then Courtney's coming in on Sunday.
Yeah.
And Bishop Kenitha is preaching somewhere on Sunday morning. So I think if you guys don't know where that is, I can give you that. So she's like a nearby church.
Yeah, I think a lot of bishops have been assigned to preach at area churches. Those,
Yeah.
That would be great to know where that is, because I've been trying to figure out where to worship that Sunday.
Mhm.
I know, because it says Sabbath. So we need to find somewhere to go. I'll put that, I'll send that to you guys or to Katie and she can share it if she doesn't have it.
Yeah.
But we worked with Beth Smotherman. Brenda, sorry.
Brenda.
I knew it, I'd get it around. At UMCOM Office of Public Relations. She created a PowerPoint for us to use. We sort of dissected a little bit to be more in line with the delegation. It was more like a general PowerPoint about communication during annual or general conference. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. That's what she looks like. I don't know if that's an airplane or what, but I got it off a stock photo. So the objectives really to start with are to understand your role in overall communications, know how to handle sensitive subject matters, learn what to say if the media contacts you, and coordinate with communications to UMC stakeholders and the public. So those are our 4 main topics of this PowerPoint. And I thought that was an appropriate picture for y'all. So in understanding your role, we have to remember who we are as United Methodists, and we need to drive the narrative. Otherwise, something like what happened to Bishop Kenitha can happen to us. So United Methodists are people of God who across the connection share a common mission and values. The UMC has long history of navigating through change and challenging circumstances, as we all know. And our diversity of thought is celebrated within the church on a national and international level. We see our future as moving forward with a renewed spirit to make disciples of Jesus Christ, and not distracted and ready to help heal the hurting world with re-energized focus on ministry and mission. And we celebrate newly launched UMC communities, which reflect how the church is continuing to grow and thrive. And we're excited for the future of the United Methodist Church. So if you happen to see something, an event or something that you hear that something's anticipated, I'm thinking of more like things like, you know, what would you call that?
Like a protest?
Like a protest or a march out or something like that. We want you to let us know, to either delegate chair or us. And we will try to monitor what's happening and our role in the process. I mean, I'm thinking about at 2019, somebody said somebody was outside with a gun at some point, and nothing really happened. Analyze the situation, put a plan into place. We'll work to be timely in reaching out and responding to the media if the media contacts us, and partner with the UMCOM Office of Public Information and try to get our truth out first, not let others tell our story.
I see Nitsa has a hand raised. Do you have a question? Is it okay if we ask questions as we go?
Yes, please. I don't want to read this PowerPoint like this.
So Liz, are you aware already of what the General Commission of Status of Roles of Women, I always get that the other way.
Yeah.
I think they're planning some services like as people are coming out of some of the sessions. Are you aware of that
No,
already? Okay, I will look that up and send you that information.
yeah, if you could
That-
help us with being aware of all that stuff, that would be great.
Okay, that was part of the webinar, so I'll send you that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
And some of that could be just as simple as like shooting you guys a text, right? And saying, hey, this is something that like maybe an event that's happening that's like organized quickly and like so that you guys know about it. Is that right?
Yes, we'll put our cell phone numbers in at the end here so that you guys get them and copy and put them in your contacts. As a delegate spokesperson, the reason why you're a good spokesperson, because you're a reliable and credible source of information. And we need to drive the narrative and provide an answer to what does the Iowa UMC need to know about today. So we're thinking that we would do some kind of once a day on a cell phone, 1 minute and under, slap it onto social media. What does the Iowa UMC need to know about what happened today? And, hoping that nothing terrible is happening by creating a positive image of the annual conference and the United Methodist Church. But we'll need your help with that.
We
these are
also
just-
talked about on our end that we could maybe assign which delegates go on which day. And then if we need to switch because someone else has something more important to talk about, like their legislative committee did something, but that we'd have like at least a first draft of who would be the expected person each day.
That would be amazing. this is what Brenda gave us. If asked to comment by a reporter, remember, no one can speak as or for the United Methodist Church. Only General Conference can speak for as or for the UMC. State that you're not speaking as the church, but as a topical expert and a delegate. Per your role allowance, you can speak as a conference district or local church, but not speak for the UMC overall.
So an easy way to navigate that, sorry,
Go-
is
I
just be
knew.
like,
Yeah.
see, she knows I can't keep my mouth shut. So the easy way to say is, well, I can't speak for the general church. However, what I experienced today was, and then your little snippet.
She also said to make sure to guide people to official documents, the Book of Discipline or the Book of Resolutions, instead of being, as being quoted. Ask about the church's stance. If asked about the church's stance of something, note that no one can speak for the UMC besides General Conference. The following paragraphs and documents may be helpful to them. And then pull that portion out and be able to cite it, and then send them a link to the online version, which I think is pretty much all online. And it's also not okay, it's okay not to know the answer. So a lot of times we have people call us all the time, we don't know the answer when it's some kind of situation. I had somebody not too long ago call for our director of camps, and he was calling for somebody that had a name spelled differently, and went on to talk to me like 20 minutes about all the reasons that he needed to talk to him. And I was like, but I'm not going to let you talk to him till I get it, and I'll call you back. If he doesn't call you back, I'll call you back. So that's kind of the best way, is just don't guess, don't assume, don't put your opinions in there. Don't speculate. Reporters are really good at trying to get you to repeat unconfirmed information. And then we create holding statements. We have these, some of these are already done like through our crisis manual, but this is what we got from Brenda. And make sure that you're brief and refer them to the correct person. So like when I had that conversation with him, I was like, I'll make sure to, get this message to so-and-so. And if he doesn't call you back, I will. And you have to always do it. So, and in that, this stuff happens to you, you can always come to us and let us make the answer, or the delegate chair leader.
So I think one thing to add about this, when we think about things like, let's say that, and this happens, so let's say there was like a protest thing happening and someone who is from the media came and asked you about it. Like, you might not actually know what's happening in that. So it's okay to say like, I don't know what that is. Or like, you may say, oh, that's terrible what they're doing. Or like, if you don't actually know what's going on, don't talk about it, I guess, is one way to put that.
That's exactly true. Like this is, if it's developing, we don't have the answer, so don't guess or assume or give your opinions. Oops, that's the same one. So speak to the process. Basically what it's saying is that, like in disaffiliation, we would say there's a process for disaffiliating. It's not just how you want it to be. We have a process. A lot of times you kind of feel like they're your friend, and they'll add subjects to it, and they'll start like, like, do you have any kids? Or they start kind of trying to get you to relax, so that you will like, then they can like stab you with a new subject matter. So just like kind of practice your answers and then loop back to what they've already said, and don't start a new narrative. Like Katie said, don't avoid negative messages, and don't be saying, oh, that's terrible, when you don't really know what's happening. Speak the truth. What we know to be true is X. We have a process for this. It's paragraph 2553. And then kind of like plan for good quotable lines if you can. Practice it a little bit, kind of in case you're walking out and like when something's happening, you might just jot something down. So in case a reporter does, approach you, that you have something to say.
It is also okay if like you're walking out of the convention center and someone says, "Hey, can I interview for this?" for you to say, "Nope, I'm not interested," and like just keep going. So you do not have to be interviewed if you do not want to be.
And the next one, these are just two really generic holding statement responses. Like, I can't speculate the future, but what I do know is this. It's too early to know all the details. I'll get back to you with an update when we know more. And we use those all the time. Those are that's the key way to hold them out. And then, what's your name? What's your number? We can get back to you. Because what you don't want to do is not contact them back. And, this is a more larger one. I want to make sure we give you the most accurate and up-to-date information. Our conference's communication team can best help you. If you give me your contact information, deadline, and story specifics, I'll pass that along and have them return your call as soon as possible. This kind of what we would say generally, and then normally we would go back to Katie or we'd go back to the bishop and see if they want to talk to this person. And if they want to be interviewed, then we'll pass on that information to them.
Some of this might also be helpful because it might not be at general conference where someone like maybe talks you off the street, but you might get a request for your church back here in Iowa after general conference. And so like whether or not you have all the details, one example might be like regionalization. We may not know whether it's going to pass yet, for example. And so like you could say like, we don't have that information yet. Here's the process. It has to be voted on by the conference. And so those kinds of things to, you might be asked questions about that when you get back home as well.
Yes.
And you can always just direct them back to the conference if you want.
Yes. And then prepare for controversy. Kind of like what Bishop Kanitha said is that we can't expect it, but it probably will happen, that there's something that's disappointing or there's something that doesn't pass that we wanted to, or just goes completely differently than we thought was going to happen. So the bad thing is that drives the media interest. And so anticipate scenarios like, if this happens, then what do we do then? And as an annual conference, we are already trying to develop those answers. And Bishop Kanitha saying that she's going to have pastoral letters will be helpful too. Have statistics that support the document and supportive documents ready. Prepare for tough questions and adopt a reporter's mindset. They want to dig, and a little bit sort of, I don't want to say trick, but it is a little bit tricky to avoid them if they're really wanting to get an answer. They'll call you 20 times and they'll keep saying, we have a deadline, we have a deadline, we have a deadline. And you're like, we don't. So you can wait till tomorrow.
I'm just curious, for people that have past experience, how likely is that you'll be approached by a media person?
Barry, you've gone to more. Do you have any? I've never been asked to do an interview like on site. So.
Well, I've experienced people asking me questions, and I've referred them to well, back in the day when it was Art, and before him, it's not real likely, to be honest, unless you are a chair of a committee, delegation chair, or you're in the middle of one of our caucus groups and they're catching you as you're leaving a meeting. There are places that you're more likely to be approached. So, just be aware of that too.
I would also say, like, if you're joining in a protest or a witness kind of movement, that would also be something that, they would see that you're part of that and would want to know what's going on. And so that would be another one of those opportunities. Or I don't know if opportunity is the right word, but.
Yeah, this is Kay. It really does depend upon where you're at what time and in what place. You may not get interviewed, but I remember when I was in a subgroup, it was on one of the things in the pensions meeting about whether we divest from companies that provide weapons and things to Israel. And while we were having that discussion, our whole subgroup was ringed by observers and reporters and things listening to see what our discussion was. But couldn't, since it was in session, they couldn't stop and ask us for an interview and a direct quote.
So those are the times when you're lucky because they can't do that, but it's also unlucky because they can take whatever you're saying as a quote. This is just a quick kind of like 5 points on what to do to get for the, if a reporter wants to cover a story and get a quote, point them to the delegate chair, know that they're going to want it very timely. They're going to have a deadline and get it with or without the facts. Need to stick to our messaging first to help mitigate misinformation, and know that nothing is completely off the record, that this isn't a conversation. And they're very good at making it feel like a conversation. And then the last thing is, don't say no comment, because they could quote that as no comment, which means, oh, they don't care, or they're scared to, reveal something. So,
But as Katie alluded to earlier, it is absolutely okay, like she said, that if you want to say, no, thank you, I'm not interested, and just keep walking. This is more like once they've got you, and you're already talking to them, don't just say no comment. Make sure that you kind of wrap that back up together and say, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of Liz's stuff, so.
no, that's good.
But yeah, kind of wrap it back up in some of the other things we said earlier and kind of bring it back to the main point is the main point.
If you're on your social media, just remember that even on your personal profiles, you reflect the UMC. Courtney can speak on this. Don't speculate, repeat unconfirmed information, or speak for the UMC. You're more than welcome to talk for yourself as a delegate. If you have to speak on a topic, ensure that you state that you are a part of the UMC, but these are your personal thoughts and knowledge, and that you do not speak as or for the church. It's filled with misinformation and disinformation, as we do know. Don't be a source of this or cause for confusion. If you see inaccurate information, and I love this about most of you people, you always are, you'll comment very nicely on the inaccurate information, and you can always refer them to a trusted source or an article or a link. Sometimes not saying anything on social media is just the right choice, and consider how your comment will be received, and if it does more harm than good. We're very, Courtney's very adept at not saying the wrong thing. She's rarely gets any kind of bad comments on what she posts, because she does most of our posting.
I just have a good filter.
You have to in this job. Like social media, your conversations and actions can be a reflection of the UMC. We need to walk the talk, and through the word and deed, be mindful of what you say and do in public places. If you never know who's listening and watching, don't say or do something that you wouldn't want to be quoted as saying or noted as doing, which I think you all know that pretty well. And very end, you can always email us at communications@iaumc.org. We'll put our cell phone numbers and add us to your contacts. And if we're not available, we can reach out to Brenda, and this is being recorded, so you'll be able to come back and read this. That's her cell phone and her emails. And presscenter@umcom.org she reads that.
But that one goes to several people, so just in case during the event, yeah. The one thing Brenda did ask us to do is to please don't disseminate this publicly. This is kind of for our eyes only. And then the other main point that I just wanted to bring up is that you are not alone, you are not alone, you are not alone. So if some of this stuff is like really overwhelming to you, know that we have a plan in place. We're working with UMCOM, we're working with UM News. We are all going to be allegedly on the same floor as you guys this year, and not up in an eagle's nest like we were in 19. So you'll be able to find us when we're there, and if we're not there, there's an entire fleet of people from NCJ, from UMCOM.
Yep.
Get a hold of us, even if we're not on site. There's people that can help you, and you guys are all super competent and amazing, and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. So that's pretty much our spiel. Do you guys have questions? How about our phone numbers?
So one of the questions I know we had was like, what would be the best way for us to do those daily delegate videos? And as we have them assigned, and I think part of what we talked about is it might be easiest while you guys are on site to maybe find one of you and record it. But we also, on the days you're not, like if it was my day, I could record it on my phone and then send it to you. Is that still a good plan for those?
Put that one right there. Yes.
Sorry, I'm. Can't
There we
see,
go.
apparently. Yes, that is. So, if you guys want to, work this out yourselves and make your own list of people, you know your schedules better than we do. You can either text us a video or meet up with us somewhere to airdrop it to us. Or if you're not comfortable on video, but you want to have like a moment, you can also write something out and take a picture that's meaningful to you that day.
Really anything.
Really anything that you want to share about the day, just try to keep it positive. And I mean, even if I've only been to one general conference and it was 19, and that was really hard. So it was really hard for me to find anything positive to put anywhere. I'm gonna be totally honest, but trying to find something that is uplifting, and even if it was a hard day, say it was a hard day, but you know what? I saw God here in the midst of whatever is happening. So I hope that made sense.
I do also want to ask, and I think I sent this back to you as a question, that like, what if everything goes to crap? And like the idea that
I'm gonna
like
be crying in a corner.
So I do want to also create space for us to have real feelings, and like we may have a personal opinion that like I disagree with this decision and I did not like this, and like we do have the space to do so. Like on your personal page, like you can do that, but also remember that like when people see you, they see the United Methodist Church, and so like how we do that also matters. And so just to be aware of that people see you and they see the conference, they see Iowa, and so this is even I think about there was a guy who just came up to the microphone all the time at one of the general conferences, and like just being aware of like what you do represents then on like all of your other delegates, so, and all the other people from your state. So
we had a couple of questions here. Nate, we cannot send them electronically, but we are allowed to print them out. So if you would like the next time you're in the building, but that's just one of the touchy things with UMCOM is they just would prefer us keep that physical. So again, please don't share this recording with anybody.
And what we do with the recording, by the way, is we post it on our own Discord. It's like a private link on a YouTube thing, so those who can't join us can still see this gathering.
We're just trying to follow Brenda's wishes. Yes, there will be. Are you planning a press release in the Iowa context? Yes. What that's going to look like yet, we're not 100% sure. We've been working with Bishop Kenitha and Katie and a few other folks on those plans. Another question, and sorry.
Go ahead, you're going, fine.
Sorry. This is her job and I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
During jurisdiction, the communications teams were dividing up their assignments, and some of that going on for general conference. I would like to think so, but it's not. I know that there are very limited photography passes, so we are going to be helping each other with photos. I believe there's going to be a quote donut video created where we can each put in our own folks, insert it at front and an end, and we can put anything in our Iowa or North Central jurisdiction context. I believe UMCOM is producing something that can be viable for that. So there's a chance you might be asked by somebody from our jurisdiction. They'll work with us and we'll work together to do that. You might be asked. I think we did that a couple years ago too. South Dakota was kind of in charge of that, or the Dakotas. Should we have an Iowa hashtag for social media? Well, that's a good question. Do we know if there's an official one? I've been using UMCGC and GC 2024. Both.
I don't know if there's an official one. I haven't seen anything official.
Either have I.
I just didn't know if it'd be helpful for you guys, even if we had stuff tagged, you know, pictures we share or that kind of thing, for you guys to be able to.
Honestly, I think and somebody that's doing social media more in their own local context should speak up to this too. What's effective for a local church level. But I think the IAUMC hashtag is probably the best way to do it. That's the place where most people look when they're looking for that, to my knowledge.
Okay.
If anybody else has an idea.
I was thinking, I feel like maybe at some point there was chatter amongst the NCJ communicators about a hashtag, so I might look back and try to see if I can see if there was one anybody came up with. And Latanya, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, did they say, and you mean, did they say anything about a communication method called the hub?
Oh,
I mean, what, like an app or something, or like what they're calling the
I don't know. I don't know if it's a,
because I know NCJ folks who went to UMCOM or UMAC are going to all be kind of together.
trying to sit together.
Yeah,
And,
but I don't
who is
remember
they, Latanya? That might help.
well, I was saying, your meeting with communications that you did. So when in St. Louis, at the delegation lead kind of meeting, there was a presentation of somebody kind of representing communications, saying that there was going to be something called the hub, which would incorporate kind of internal communication, external communication, and media.
Oh, so yeah, our newsroom.
And how that was going to officially be distributed and that we would know about that, it was still kind of in the works, and so I didn't know if you had heard anything further about that.
What I can tell you is that I know that there will be a specific place in the media center, I'm not sure what they're calling it, that is dedicated to United Methodist Communicators. So UM News and Public Information will be kind of bridging the gap between secular media and us. So when and if we need to take you for an interview, they also have an interview room with like the big backdrop and everything, or if they do any press conferences, that'll be
lights,
and lights in that location. Does that answer your question? And like I said, as far as I know, we are on the same floor as you this time. The last map I saw had us right off the floor. We cannot enter the bar without a photography pass, but we will be closer to you guys than we were in 19. 19 was bad.
Anything else? Well, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry it wasn't it wasn't a picture friendly
You did
PowerPoint.
great.
What did Brenda say? It was death by PowerPoint.
It was a death PowerPoint.
And we're not as succinct as Neetha. So thank you for for your time.
No, we appreciate you guys just doing a little bit of equipping for us. So
all righty, we will see you. Have a
all
good
right.
meeting. Bye.
Thank you. Did it work to do the heart? So they taught me this thing. If you do this and like if you're if it's Jim's just did it. Like it makes mine won't do it. So I don't anyways.
I told you it doesn't understand Spanish.
Apparently, like if you raise your hand, it also raises your hand. But mine must have the latest update or something. I don't. So I don't know how it works. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. And Jim wanted to bring up some just kind of a strategy point for those of you who came on a little bit later. We've been focused on the 3 R's, so removing the language, revising the social principles, and regionalization. And thanks, Jim. And so this was a message from RMN about the coalition that they're a part of, focusing on the 3 Rs. But for those who did want to focus on, actually what they're saying is that they're encouraging us not to pass the extra affirming things so that it doesn't distract from that. So anything else you want to?
That was the main thing. And so they were encouraging faith and order. And I'm assuming they, to the chair of faith and order, they were also, or of this portion of faith and order, they were also encouraging to meet with all of the other leaders to suggest looking back through your petitions and identifying those that have affirming language and setting those aside in some way.
Nitsa, you've got your hand up.
We had a meeting of general admin today, and I think one topic that is coming from the strategy teams is about neutrality rather than inclusion, very inclusionary language. And so that came up as a kind of a direction or desire from the strategy teams. And even in our conversation, even though our team today was very limited because we had fewer people calling in today, we had changed the time, trying to bring more of the central conferences delegates into the conversation. That was met with a little bit of resistance. So just to let you know that may be a topic of conversation, and I don't know how it's going to pan out, but neutrality is not very well received right now. And so just everybody knows that I think that's kind of the compromise way that people are considering it. However, it's meeting up with some resistance. Is that really what we want to try to do? Particularly for our some of the issues that we have with racism. And if we were to remove that inclusionary language to remove race from some of the paragraphs, going that far into neutrality could impact some of the perceptions from our people that we have harmed over the years. So that's a conversation. I mean, it was just at noon today, so I'm just sharing with you what we had discussed today at noon.
And that's
It's
very
going to
much
be a tough one.
Yeah, that's very much the sentiment in that email, Nitsa, and that's what surprised me about it is the sudden movement to neutrality. And as emphasized as we have been on affirming language, I just didn't want us to be surprised by it.
Lindsay, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I was going to say we are having a similar conversation in conferences. We have a few central conference delegates that are going to join our next conferences meeting, and we kind of discuss, like, because we feel really safe with these folks that are going to join us, like having that conversation about neutrality because of the request for the global social principles to include marriages between one woman and one man, or a woman and man, whatever, however that is. So to avoid having that added, to avoid doing affirmative language until regionalization is passed. Once we pass regionalization, right, we can do that. And so, like, we understand how that is harmful, but that's why I put the thing about the simple plan. So the simple plan in 2019 was really promoted by the Progressive and Queer Clergy Caucus. And so I think it's really helpful to remember that because this is essentially doing that work, which may be offensive or not, whatever. But Jim, I'm really glad that you brought this to us because I have a feeling we're all going to be having this conversation.
Yep.
Nitsa, I'm really curious, just to follow up on what you said, because you talked about race as well with that. And I didn't hear this being at all about, like, neutral as far as inclusion related to race. What I heard this as is simply, like, let's remove the harmful discriminatory language around sexuality and not add the additional like affirming language, like yay, gay marriage, go out and do it. So I want to clarify. So that's
So what happens is in general admin, we have two very kind of conflicting proposals around paragraph 4. So one of them is to add gender, and the other one is to simplify and remove all categorizations. So if we were to go with the let's support that, remove all categorization, you get to that neutrality. But then that does away with adding the gender, which was passed in previous general conference, but not ratified. So that's kind of the dilemma that we're dealing with, particularly in paragraph 4.
gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. That's helpful. Barry.
Yeah, last night a group of delegates that are reserves got together, and it was with the coalition of RMN and others. And the same thing that James or Jim brought up was brought up, which is that goal of neutrality on, and what you were talking about, Katie, about not pushing for including new language of positive, but to make sure we got the negative out. That was the same thing that was shared there. So.
In our case, somebody had really, in our case, somebody had talked to the, and I'm gonna get this name incorrectly, the Black African American Caucus, and they were really concerned about removing race. That's how it came about in our conversation.
Thanks. Alejandro.
Jim, I don't know if you can share again what you are sharing, or if that's, I get a chance to read all, but I'm kind of confused. So I would like to read it, or if you can forward it.
I'll forward it to you, Alejandro.
Perfect.
And
Appreciate
I'll send it to the whole delegation.
Feel free to just pop in. I've been calling on people, but
I just wanted to clarify and really be clear, like the harmful language, like the removal of the harmful language around LGBTQ issues. And I think what you're bringing up, Nitsa, is incredibly different. And look at what just happened in Iowa with legislation taking away protected classes. And so I am really concerned about that for your legislative group, and I'd be really interested to hear how that continues. But I think we have to separate the two and just be really clear that we're talking about harmful language around queer folks, and not what you're dealing with in general admin, because I just think that's a whole different topic.
I would echo that as well. And I actually think one of the things that I like about resetting to neutral related to human sexuality is that look at also we have our inclusion paragraph, which actually makes us more affirming than neutral, right? And so I like that long list here.
But which I would argue is why it's not two separate things. So I just need to say that.
Yep.
Thank you, LaTanya.
Do we have anything else we need to touch base on? Oh, we do have something else. So Town Hall. Town Hall is on Tuesday night. The link is gone out in the 360 and the weekly general conference updates from communications. Feel free to share as well on your own social media for people to tune in and touch base. I am going to send a quick email right after this meeting. The way I think we framed it is that we've got like, I meant to do this before we met today, that there are a couple of things we want to talk about, like a brief overview of legislation, but we also are making videos about legislation. So we don't need to repeat all that stuff. We can point people to legislation. The other one is about like how can people connect and be connected with what's happening at General Conference. And the I cannot find my note now. I'm sorry. The third is about how can you be supportive of delegates as far as things that we wanted to cover. Is there anything else I'm missing on that list, since I cannot put my fingers on my notes?
Katie, you're talking about in regards to the town hall?
Yes, to our delegation town hall next Tuesday night. What I heard is that we really kind of wanted to do some Q&A and let people like see where the questions come from, and be available to answer them. But I also know we talked about like there might be specifically like how can you stay engaged, and like here's the website and here's where you can stay connected with delegates and that kind of thing. So the email I'm going to send you is if you want to help lead one of those particular little segments, and then we'll have the rest of it just be open Q&A. Anyone who's a delegate is welcome to be on and answer questions. And what we might do is like have you put a star by your name so that you're at the top of the list and we can pin you, so that that kind of a thing. But
Hey, Katie, I would add to that if questions come up specifically to something that you're engaged in your conferences, like or in your legislative group, I'm obviously thinking about conferences all the time. Yeah. But if there's anything that comes up, you're the expert. Like, so I would encourage you, delegates, general conference delegates and readers with them to really jump in to answer those, because that you know that stuff inside out and out. But then don't be afraid to add.
Yeah. I'm going to encourage people to put questions in the chat, and then maybe we can raise hands to answer questions as we, so instead of like having a panel, if you guys will raise your hand, then we can just like, hey, Alejandra, how about you take that one? And that kind of a thing. And I don't know, we might have 10 people show up. We might have 150. I have not looked in registration for it, so I can't tell you off the top of my head, but
Hey, Katie, this is a different topic, so you can stop me. I know you've been sharing, I shared a couple, just like events that are happening during general conference. You're going to all see those in like your different groups that you're a part of. So just share them. I shared one for a laity dinner. It's free for lay folks, and it's like $40 for non-lay persons if you're a delegate, if you're a general conference delegate. So check that out. Katie shared the hymns and beers one. But anyway, if you run across them, add them, because you can't keep them all straight.
I also came across a great resource from Virginia that is like a handbook, or not a handbook, it's an infographic for individuals and churches. And I'm going to share it real quick. It looks something like this. Like your church is part of a district, and like this is what we have, and the general, and then it has like here's what happens at general conference kind of thing. It'll load. I reached out and asked them real quick, hey, could we borrow that like for this town hall? Could we share that? And she said, you know what, if you send me your information for these questions, I will even customize it for Iowa. So
wow.
It's a delegate in Virginia who did that, and so I'm hoping that we'll have that also, that like we can have links for that to the town hall, that they can like take it back and share it with their church. And so it's just a really simple, like, what happens at general conference? Oh, there's plenary sessions and there's voting. And so I think that's the kind of stuff that people are going to be interested in at the town hall, as much as other, like, what are we going to do about discriminatory language? So
Katie, this
Yeah.
is Angela. Just another off the topic question. Pastor Wendy was wondering if anybody is making a litany or a prayer that can be done in churches the Sunday before to send us off.
Ooh, That's a good question. We had talked something about that, and oh, Nate hopped off. I thought Nate might have been working on it. If I,
He
shared some
He
stuff.
did send us a first draft.
it's in
It's in the Discord.
okay. It might be helpful just for us to grab that again and share that out so that you guys can share it with your churches. Do you guys remember what that was under? I don't remember seeing it. I mean, I do, but I don't.
I can look for it too, but thanks. I've been asking for weeks for prayer, so.
I'm pretty sure Nate had something on Discord
Okay.
about that in one of the categories. I remember seeing it.
I just don't remember where it was, but
Notes
I
and
got-
resources, maybe? I'm just looking.
I wonder, can we just search?
So in addition to that, I got wind that I think Upper Room is going to be doing kind of like a daily devotional starting in May. When I confirm that, I'll let you know.
I am positive that that's happening. I found the thing, so I just put it in the link so you guys could find it easily. Yeah, there should definitely be a daily prayer that's shared, and that might be in social media. How many of you are connected with the United Women in Faith WhatsApp group? Are any of you connected with that one? I can send the link. They've been doing a daily prayer for the last, like, starting 50 days in advance. It's been lovely. It might just be for ladies, though. I don't know who got invited to it, or if I can add people. All right, I know we're at the end of our time. Anyone else have any questions, thoughts for the group? I'm just grateful for all of you. We're almost there, and I know even if you're not going to be there, that you're going to be with us there in spirit and surrounding in prayer and very.
This is a little prayer square. My ladies in the church here have been making these, and they give them out, and they wanted me to bring one for each of you. Know that you've been prayed for. It's one of those things that's kind of tactile, and on the other side is a prayer that they have attached. It's a nice little prayer, and I'll be bringing those with me, and I'll make sure that each one of you get one. So just know that the women here at Grace and the men here at Grace have been praying for you and will continue to pray for you throughout all of General Conference. May grace abound.
Amen. I just also want to quickly add, speaking of prayers, like that liturgy for that Sunday, I was just glancing at Nate's prayer, but that might also be nice to put on a screen and share at the end of our town hall session, because it's a responsive thing where the delegates, and so that would also be a lovely way to incorporate that. All right. Would someone like to pray us out? We kind of dove in and didn't start with prayer today.
I can.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Yep. God, you're good, and we give you thanks for this opportunity to connect and ask questions and share wisdom and just prepare ourselves as we head into General Conference. Be with us through the anxiety, through the hope, through the fear, and the other million different feelings we have leading up to this time. We know you are with us, and so we give you thanks for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Hey, Katie,
Yes,
when are you flying out?
I am flying on Sunday because I'm on I'm on the agenda committee.
I'm so glad you're on agenda.
So so I have to be there the day early. So
Okay. Okay. I was just checking in. I have a couple publishing house things happening. And Jim is on the publishing house committee now, or he's on our audit committee. So he was added to my computer's gonna die. He was added to the audit committee. So he'll be connecting with us there. But I just didn't know where kind of you landed, and maybe you've talked to Mitza and Latanya about this, but did you land somewhere on